Alright guys, good morning. As you can see by the title, this video is about the iPhone 4G. I'm mainly going to talk about not so much the phone itself, although I will give my piece on the phone. But I'm going to talk more about the ethics surrounding all the people involved with the leak, A, the leak of the phone, and B, whether I feel it should have been put out in the open. First of all, the phone itself, I don't particularly think, I'm sure you guys have, with all the videos you have seen, I don't think that this is the final product, the end prototype. I think there will be a lot more to it whenever it comes out. I'm talking about sleekness and basically just Apple. It doesn't look like an Apple product at the minute. You take the logo, the Apple logo off it, and you wouldn't necessarily say it was an Apple product. Whereas the iPad, the iPhone 3GS, the Max and all that there, you take the Apple logo off it and you can still see that it was done by Apple, if that makes sense. Okay, so the ethics about it, and just before I do, this is the first video I've made about the iPhone 4G, and it'll probably be the last video. If you want to see more about the in depth about the actual phone and the goings on about it, I suggest you go across and take a look at Adrian's DRB UK. Take a look at his YouTube page. I'll put a link on the thing if you don't already know who Adrian is, but go across. Adrian does some fantastic videos, and he's always incredibly thorough on what he's saying, researches what he's saying, and knows everything that he's saying is right. So take a look at his site for more information about this. But basically, I'll just give you a rundown in case you don't already know about it, okay? There was a young Apple technician brought out this iPhone 4G prototype with him when he was celebrating. It was in Redwood City, California, and left it down. Somebody then came along, picked up the iPhone, contacted Apple to try and give it back. Apple didn't believe that he had the thing in the first place. And then it's not too clear how it got from the guy that picked it up to Gizmodo, but it did. Now there's rumours going around that Gizmodo have paid a lot of money for it, between $5,000 and $10,000. When Gizmodo got the phone, obviously you've seen all the articles they've wrote about it, all the things they've done. They've photographed it, taken it apart as best they can, and what have you. And in the interim of doing this, what they've done is they've also, the technician who left the phone in the first place, they have put his details, including a photograph of him, up on Facebook, I believe it is. Now, there's two reasons why people are saying they've done this, okay? First reason is to name and shame him, or the second reason is Gizmodo are trying to protect him, and they're trying to protect him by putting his details up on the internet. It's going to put more pressure on Apple to keep him, to not sack him. Because people are going to know who he is, they're going to be expecting him to still stay at work, still be at Apple and what have you. I personally don't think if that's Gizmodo's theory behind it, I don't think that's going to work. The reason why I don't is because if Apple are going to sack this guy, they're going to sack him because he has done wrong. Regardless which way you want to look at this, he has done wrong. And yes, it's human error, we all make mistakes and all the rest of it. But sometimes, when we make mistakes, there are consequences. And in this guy's case, as sad as it may be, he may be a fantastic guy, he may have a family and all the rest of it. But as sad as it may be, you got to ask yourself the question, first of all, even if he hadn't put it down in the bar, I'm assuming that he still could have got sacked for taking it out of the lab. I'm assuming that the secrecy surrounding Apple and the launch of products has been so closely guarded and all the rest of it because they don't allow these things to leave Apple headquarters in the first place, so that these mistakes don't happen. So even if the thing hadn't been picked up and it was found, it just came to light that this guy had taken it home to show his wife or his mother, father, whatever, brother, sister, he still could have got, I'm assuming he still could have got sacked for that particular offence. Just so happens that this is escalated out to something much, much bigger than this poor lad had ever dreamed it would do. Well, here's another way of looking at it, right? We can sit here and say it was human error, he shouldn't be sacked, but would you still be saying the same thing if Apple now release a press release and say, right, because of the way we've done things in the past, we as a company we like the secrecy. We keep everything covered until we unveil it at a launch. That's not going to happen this time around. Too much is known about this product. So what we're going to do is now we're going to set back our release date for another year or whatever amount of time it's going to take them to redesign it and reinvent it and do whatever it is they're going to do. Now, it's highly unlikely Apple are going to do that because they're in competition with the likes of Android and all the rest of the companies, Nokia and stuff like that. So the onus is on Apple to get it out quickly. But Apple don't do things like that. They don't just get products out quickly. They make sure that they're right. They make sure that the product is the way they want them to be. And they launch it the way they want to launch it. So you've got to ask yourself that. Because of this tiny snowball and incident, would you still be happy for this guy to be in his job if you weren't going to get your iPhone 4G for another year and a half? Because Apple have got to stop things and... Do you know what I mean? Now, Gizmodo, the ethics behind Gizmodo, you got to ask yourself, do you think, well, I ask myself, should they have done the right update on the phone? Should they have paid the amount of money that they have allegedly paid for the phone? Personally, I don't think that Gizmodo should have put any information out about the phone. It wasn't theirs. Despite the fact that they paid or allegedly paid somebody for it, at the end of the day it wasn't theirs. This phone belonged to Apple. And in the state of California, as far as I'm aware, even though that Apple technician left that phone on the table, it still constitutes as theft if somebody comes along, picks it up because the guy's left the bar or whatever, and they try to find the owner of it, but they can't find the owner of it. It still constitutes as theft if they keep it. There was nothing stopping them taking it down to a police station or whatever. And another guy allegedly tried to contact Apple and give it back, but he didn't. When it went to Gizmodo, like I said, it's unclear how it did get to Gizmodo from this guy. All that's known about it is that there was cash parted, allegedly. Gizmodo's in a position to hand this thing back. You know, they go to plenty, I'm sure they go to plenty of WWDCs, Macworlds and what have you, and they, you know, have got their press authorizations for getting in and out of different places, what have you. I am sure that they could have contacted somebody slightly higher than what this guy who lifted the phone in the first place could have contacted and handed it back to Apple. And them phoning Apple and saying, listen, we've got a prototype, would have had a hell of a lot more weight on it than some Joe Blogs phoning up and saying, I've got a prototype of yours. And Apple may have listened to Gizmodo. So it really, the bottom line is, despite the fact Gizmodo paid for it, or allegedly paid for it, it wasn't theirs to do write-ups about, to take the decision to put it out on the internet or anything like that. So ethically, I personally think Gizmodo were wrong. Now, you can look at things in another way and think, you know, if it was any one of us that found the phone, would we have rushed home and put a YouTube video up about it? I don't know. I don't personally think I would have done. I can't say for definite. I don't know about you guys, how you guys would have handled things. So that's my take on the kind of ethics surrounding what happened with the guy, the technician and Gizmodo. And obviously, I'm still unsure about what's happening with the guy who lifted the phone in the first place, whether he's going to be charged with theft or whether he's going to be charged with, you know, something else for selling it on in the first place to Gizmodo. Now, there has been a couple of letters. Gizmodo are now handing it back to Apple. Apple have contacted Gizmodo and asked for the phone back, and Gizmodo have turned around and said, oh, you know, we didn't... They're kind of trying to dumb it down a little bit and say we didn't realise the magnitude of things and what have you, and yes, certainly we'll give it back to you. That doesn't ring true with me. If they didn't understand the magnitude of things, then they wouldn't have paid 5 or 10, allegedly paid 5 or 10 grand for this phone. The minute they handed cash, parted cash, big cash, if they did over for this phone, they understood the magnitude of what they were doing, and they took they took on the responsibility. In my opinion, they took on the responsibility from that point on as to what they were going to do with it. So anyway, guys, that's my take on it. And don't get me wrong, I'm not bashing Gizmodo as well. I think Gizmodo's great. They come out with some fantastic stories and theories and all the rest. I just think on this particular occasion, maybe they've been wrong. And that's just my opinion. My opinion, which doesn't really count for much. Okay, guys, so there we go. There's the Gizmodo page. I'm sure you've all seen it in any case. All the different photographs. And if you look at that, you know, I just don't think that looks like an Apple product. I don't know. I could be wrong. And if it comes out, it'll probably look great. And one thing's for sure, I'll certainly buy it. But anyway, guys, that's it. Okay? Speak to you all soon, and I hope you're all doing well. Thanks, guys. Bye.